Hello folks, this is Mike with the Deer Park Wood Shop. Today we'd like to show you our latest acquisition. When we were at Home Depot, we purchased this component shelf for our DVD player. It's going to fit about 3 inches under the television, and it's going to get our DVD player off the dresser where it was before. It's going to look better, and it's going to read the remotes better. The unit was made by Commercial Electric, and it was available right off the shelf at Home Depot for $15, which I thought was a good price. We're happy anyway. So today we're going to do a DIY project. We're going to show you how to install this. Let's take a look at what's in the box. So this is the box the shelf comes in. Very sturdy, well packaged. Inside the box, first we find 2 manuals. One in Spanish, one in English. Let's look at the hardware. Here's the hardware. You'll notice it comes in a plastic wrapper section with each part with a part number. I would leave these parts in the package, as some of these are like the plugs and the little grommet are special, and if you lose them, you may not be able to find them locally. There's just enough hardware to do the job also. Now this is the wall plate. This is 7 inches long, 3 1/8 inches wide, 3/4 inches deep. Also supplied are these decorative caps that you can put on each end. Now when you get these installed, it will make the unit about 8 5/8 inches long. Also bear in mind, if you use the caps, it nullifies the use of the slots in the back for wire management. Now this is the shelf standard that your glass shelf will sit on. This is an adjuster plate that fits on the back, and that allows this unit to ride up and down in this slot, and when the bolts are tightened, it'll be held in place. Underneath is the glass shelf itself. Remember folks, this will break. It is glass. It's substantial, but it is glass, so be careful with it. If you drop it or tap it with a metal tool, it may just break. The shelf is 15 inches wide and 11 inches deep. Now remember, audiophiles and videophiles, a lot of times your full-size equipment is about 17 inches wide, so it's going to overhang each side. Now that may not be a problem for you, but if you're a bit OCD, it could drive you nuts. Because you were looking at probably an inch overhang on each side. Also measure the depth of your equipment, and I would make sure it's not much more than 9 inches deep. You're going to need to allow a couple of inches at the back for your wiring, your HDMI cords, and etc. Also, if you'll look at manufacturer's pictures, they show caps on the bottom and the top of the bracket that are very pretty, and I wished I could have used them. The problem is, what they don't show you in the manufacturer's pictures is the wiring. What we did is we just left the caps off. If you're going to try to use the caps and use the wiring features of the bracket, and the bracket does have wiring management features. There's 2 slots in the back of the bracket that allow you to drop wiring down through the bracket. So you can buy a commercial wall channel. They're usually made of a heavy-duty plastic material, and they either stick to the wall with double-sided tape or they screw on. They're paintable. They're usually a paintable plastic, and they can be cut with just a handsaw or a hacksaw or whatever. And you can do like I did. We painted ours to match the wall. Now honestly, I made this one myself. This is just a piece of scrap 1x4 I had left. And I trimmed it to 3 1/8 inches wide, which is the width of the unit. The unit is also 3/4 inches deep, which is the exact depth of a 2x4. So I cut channels on the back of this in my shop and brought my wiring back down through the bracket. And later on in the video, I'll show you how to do that. I want to center the shelf right under the Sony label on my television set, centered against the wall. I want the shelf about 3 inches below the edge of the TV. I want the bracket to be slightly above the back of the television. I've marked the center of my bracket, and now I'm going to position the edge of my level at that mark. Get my bubble in the middle and draw a center line down the wall. Now I put a mark on the center line to indicate where the bottom edge of the TV is. I move the TV out of the way and use my square to put a mark 1 inch further up the wall. This will be the location for the top of my bracket. I don't want the top visible when the TV is pushed back into place. Position the bracket on the wall, center the mounting holes over the line, and outline the holes on the wall with your pencil. As an illustration, I'm using a stud finder to confirm that we have to go with the hollow wall anchors. As you can see, the nearest stud is 6 or 8 inches to the right. Now I'm going to show you how to cut and machine the wooden wiring channel. You'll need the metal wall bracket to use for measurements, so don't install that just yet. Now if you're not going to be making this wooden channel, you may want to just skip ahead to the next section of the video. I'm just going to take a scrap board and I'm going to cut my bracket. My bracket only needs to be 7 inches long. Be sure to measure your wall and make sure you have enough board for your bracket. So first thing I'm going to do, make a quick mark across here. I'm going to measure 7 inches. I can barely miss that. Make a mark on each side. What we're going to need to do is cut the 2 ends square. So there, I've got my 7-inch board. Now we're going to take the board we just cut, which is still 3.5 inches wide. And I'm just going to take off about 1/8 of an inch on this board to give us a good edge here and help it and square it up a bit. Be sure to keep your hands away from the blade. We want this to be the same width as our plate. Now the plate I've wrapped with painter's tape to protect it. So what I can do now is I'm going to simply use it as a guide, and I'm going to get this just that same width. We're going to take the cut edge we just cut and put it against the fence, and we're going to cut off the other edge. Now normally we would have a saw guard that would cover this blade to help us keep our hands away from the blade. That's been removed for clarity. So when you operate your saw, be sure to use all the safety equipment that's supplied with it. Anyway, now I'm going to remove the tape from this plate. And we're going to actually use this as a guide. I'm going to take the pencil and I'm going to put a little mark inside here, 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 and here. Now, these marks indicate where the channel should be. Next, I'm going to lower my blade. Because we want the blade to be maybe about 1/4, 3/16 inches below the top of the board. Just with the outside of my tooth touching the line on this side. See that with every pass, this slot's going to get wider as we continue to move this guide in a bit each time. And just like I said, we're just going to inch away at it. See the channels? Those correspond pretty close to the channels on the bracket itself. Now you can either drill holes here, mount it to the wall, and then putty over those and sand it and paint it. Or what we're going to try to do is take a piece of double-sided tape and put on this area, and we'll drop our wiring through it and just stick it to the wall. Many of these ready-made channels, that's the method they use to attach them with. Okay, now the next step would be to sand this with fine, medium, and coarse sandpaper, and paint it to match your wall, or paint it white, or whatever color you wish it to be. I put 3 coats on mine. If you look on page 5 of your guide, you will find installation instructions which cover mounting the plate in either a wall stud or in a masonry wall. Now, if you're going to be using one of these 2 methods, this is very well written. You can basically just follow the instructions. Now, oddly, the manual does not cover a drywall installation, which I imagine droves of people will need to do. So we will demonstrate the proper method needed in this video. This is a 3/8 inch spade bit. These work very well in drywall. There are many types of hollow wall anchors, but these are my favorites for general work. They are referred to as hollow wall plug anchors, and they should be available at hardware stores or your big box lumber yards. Make sure that your drill bit is a smaller diameter than the anchor you bought. If it's too large, your hollow wall anchor will just spin in the wall when you try to drill it in. You can drill your holes now and go ahead and insert and tap in your wall anchors. They should be snug in the hole when you tap them in. Now we can mount the plate on the wall. Now, as you can see, that's pretty stout here. Now I'm going to take the little caps. They simply snap into the hole, like so. On the back are 2 holes for the adjuster plate. Now this is part number D on your list. That goes right here. You'll install that with 2 number CC screws. Okay, now I have the adjuster plate attached to the back with the countersunk screws. Now let's see if it slides onto the wall plate. Okay, start at the bottom, engage the slot at the bottom, and look, it slides right up. Now let's install the shelf. Remember, we're going to use the countersunk part at the top, and into this hole we're going to use a little rubber grommet. This is part number DD. You probably can't see that, but it's a little rubber cushioning grommet, and you put that over the screw just to protect the glass a bit when you screw the screw in. I'll drop that in the, yeah, there we go. I'm going to have to leave that a little bit loose. When you tighten it down a little harder, the rubber grommet tries to squeeze out of that hole. Before we install the shelf, I use some blue tape, a pencil, and my trusty square to mark the shelf's location, which will be 3 inches under the TV's bottom edge. Before continuing, I reinstalled my surge protector and hooked up the wiring to it. The power cord and the antenna wire are routed through the right channel of the bracket. Insert the plastic retainer to hold them in place. Now, I deliberately moved it to the top of the bracket so it'll be out of the way. Now, remember we built this nice wiring channel? Well, I went ahead and coated the back of it with double-sided tape. And we'll just peel these off. And we got a self-stick surface. Now, again, I'm going to use my level as a straight edge. Push that tight against the bottom of the bracket. I'm going to put this against the wall. Press that into place, and voila, there it is. That is pretty sturdy. Now position your shelf on the mark, and now you can go ahead and tighten your screws and level the shelf. Now the hardware part of the installation is finally complete. So I'm simply going to plug my HDMI into the unit now, to my DVD player. Okay. Now I'm going to turn it around. Now, you can still see this wiring from the front of the television. So what I'm going to do is, this channel is already full, but I'm simply going to go down below the level of the DVD player, and I'm going to tuck this into that channel. And leave the retaining clip in there. And the little fingers on the retaining clip, when you push past the retaining clip, they'll pop back into place and hold the cord in an invisible mode. All right, so we are finished with this project. So we've gone from this to this. Quite a difference, wouldn't you say? I think it looks 1,000% better. Guys, if you've got questions or even some good ideas about our project, be sure to leave us a message in the comment sections below. And be sure to like our video and subscribe to our channel. In our next video, we're going to be showing you how to build and install a vertical drawer. Now these drawers are oftentimes called pull-out drawers or slide-out drawers. Oftentimes people don't want to tackle these drawers because they usually require more than 2 slides, so there can be alignment issues. But in our video, we're going to show you how to make some cheap and inexpensive jigs where you can set that drawer on the money when you install it. So be sure to subscribe so you won't miss anything. So until later, folks, thanks for watching.